left wing. So Ireland have beaten Wales 31 points to 7 here at the Aviva Stadium. There was 80 minutes and 58 seconds gone on the clock when Tadhg Byrne went over for Ireland's 4th try to get that 4-try bonus win. The other bonus point, the 3 other tries coming from Dan Sheehan, James Lowe and Cian Farrell. Ireland got 2 yellow cards as well, Tadhg Byrne and James Ryan, and a penalty try for Wales. Cian, Tracey and Rory O'Connor are here with me. Well, how do you sum up that, lads?
It's a difficult game to sum up. I don't think it panned out the way it's probably panned out a little bit the way Warren Gatland planned it and told us he was planning it.
He still got it.
He's still got it to some degree. I mean, he's got a team there, but I think it's going to take them a long time until they're able to. Maybe not a long time, but they're certainly in development. They're very in the early stages of their development. But he kind of wanted to replicate the All Blacks plan from the World Cup quarter-final and knock Ireland off their stride. And I don't think any team has really knocked Ireland off their stride as successfully, probably apart from the All Blacks maybe and South Africa at the World Cup, since England here a year ago in that Grand Slam game where Ireland got bogged down a little bit, and it was a similar maybe a game to that one. I don't think Ireland were accurate enough in that first half. They had 70% possession. They didn't make it count. I think they thought that they'd be able to break Wales after half time, but I thought they came out too over pumped after half time. For about 2 minutes they looked really slick, and then they started giving away penalty after penalty, and I think it was 6 in the first 12 minutes of the second half. Wales, having been the ill-disciplined side in the first half, and Andrea Piardi, the referee, certainly kind of was giving penalties in waves, and they were compounding error after error. Tadhg Byrne goes in the bin, and they had to kind of find their way through it. But I know Cian disagrees a little bit, I never felt like the result was in jeopardy, but I did feel, Ireland coming off a 17-7 or a 17-14 win would have felt very different to Ireland coming off a 31-7 win. It looks very comprehensive, but it didn't feel the comprehensive across the 80 minutes. Probably the poorest performance in our championship so far, and Wales had a big part to play in that.
Yeah. That was off the record, by the way. No, I think when Wales were piling on the pressure after they got their penalty try, I was kind of thinking, wow, if they get it back to 17-14, it already felt like a game, because Ireland throughout the first half were dominating collisions, whether that was in attack or defence. Every time they carried the ball, they seemed to get over the gain line. There was one big defensive set just before the end of half time. I think it was Caelan Doris and Josh van der Veer both came up with massive dominant tackles, which I suppose is the buzzword for the last few years. But Rod's right, the way they came out in the second half, it was like they left their heads in the dressing room. I don't know, was it a bit of complacency? Were they too over-eager, like Rod says? But yeah, I was just kind of thinking if they got it back to 17-14, then suddenly I think the stadium was going to get a bit nervous as well. But a huge defensive set again. I thought the bench were absolutely immense. Ryan Baird was outstanding. I thought James Ryan was very good before he got the yellow card. Cian Healy had a couple of big moments. You had Stuart
Ronan
McCloskey.
Kelleher had a
Ronan Kelleher.
Yeah.
He was the one who won the
turnover.
There, yeah. James Ryan and Ryan Baird both made several tackles in that phase as well. So that was the point where I knew that the game was safe. Look, I didn't fear that Ireland were going to lose, but if Wales had got it back to a 3-point game, then you are sitting that little bit more uncomfortable. But the bench had a big impact, like I said, but they got away with it in a sense as well, because you had Stuart McCloskey playing on the wing, which obviously was not part of the plan. Calvin Nash goes off with a bit of an injury. We're obviously going to go down now and get an update on that, but you end up with a situation where Stuart McCloskey is against Rio Dyer, an absolute flyer. Now Wales weren't able to exploit that, and to be fair to McCloskey, he slotted in really well, came up with a really big tackle down here as well. Yeah, absolutely. So look, Andy Farrell has used clunky, I would say, several times over his tenure to describe different performances. I think it will. I think Clunky summed up that performance really. So look, there were lots of good things in it. I mean, a debut for Ollie Yeager, who put himself about off the bench as well. Bundy Aki was great in midfield, but I think he'll be a little bit disappointed that they made hard work for it. You touched on it there, Sinead, in your intro. It took them to basically the 81st minute to get the bonus point, and if they hadn't got that bonus point, I think they would have been really annoyed with themselves.
There was one stage in the first half where I thought, are Ireland going to nil a team for the second successive game? But as you say, there was opportunities they left out there, and then just that start of the second half.
They had the chance to break Wales, but the old failing of the line-out came back to haunt them. A couple went astray. The throwing well, not to put it all on the hooker, but the timing seemed to be off. A few went over the top
as well, weren't
the
they?
lifting, they just weren't. I mean, for a team who's had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, they didn't look tuned in to the same degree, and that's a failing. And like, Wales did contest much harder than Scotland and Italy had in the last 2 games, and again, that's it. That's Scotland dusting off the plan and going after Ireland and putting them under pressure and asking them questions that maybe not a poor France team, but a very on the night they were poor, and an Italy team who came to contain weren't able to do. So I think that was they will have very valuable footage, just as Steve Borthwick, Felix Jones and the English coaching ticket will have a lot to pour over here. Andy Farrell and his team now have 2 weeks to build towards Twickenham, and a lot of flaws to iron out, and a lot of players that they can sit down with and kind of go, right, this is what you did well, this is what you did wrong, whereas the other 2 games maybe didn't get asked the same kind of questions. But
what do you think it was down to? I mean, we think this team is immune to complacency, that they're always tuned in. So what do you think?
They're human. I think the 20. I mean, they beat the spread. They came in 24 points, but the big spread, what was happening outside, I'm sure when they were off, they were getting, everyone was expecting, talking about grand slams, and look, they are very mentally strong and able to shut things out, but they are human, and I'm sure it seeped into some degree. They're missing Hugo Keenan. Frawley did well, but I do think that Keenan offers them something that they maybe were missing today, and the way he popped up against Italy and just broke the game wide open a couple of times. Crowley's still learning. I thought their game management after half time went down to 14 men was very poor. They went through, I think it was an 8-minute ball and play period with Wales that became absolute chaos, and
boots
really
flying everywhere and everything.
And it was only when absolutely, and that was a great moment. Andrew Porter threw away his opposition numbers boot, and they ended up playing through that whole period with 1 boot, but Ireland never spotted him and went after him. But that was a time to slow it down, to put boot to ball, to show some composure. I think Johnny Sexton, who was here, Keane's mate from before the game, would have maybe calmed things down, put boot to ball, played a bit of territory, managed that period where Ty Byrne was in the bin much better. Byrne comes on and makes a big play at a maul to kind of make sure it does stay at 17-7. But that period, I think, really spoke to a team that isn't at the level we expect them to be at in terms of game management. So there was a lot of flaws in the performance, but this maybe is the Ireland that we expected to see in this tournament, that we didn't see in the first 2 rounds. A team that's, Joe McCarthy gave away a couple of penalties in the second half and got yoinked off. These are maybe the growing pains that you expect when you make a couple of changes, and they're making those mistakes while winning 31-7 against Wales at home. So we may sound overly negative on them, I'm not sure, but I do think we expect a lot of this Irish team, and they probably didn't deliver on it.
That's the point I was going to make. I think people, including us, have such high expectations of this team, but I mean, it's still a Six Nations game, and we should give Wales some credit. They made it tough, and they were the ones who were forcing those errors from Ireland, but they've no divine right to turn up and beat teams with bonus points. And I think maybe because our expectations are so high, we expect them to do it without any issues. And look, I think we touched on this after the Italy game as well. If this is going to be potentially another Grand Slam, there usually is sticking points along the way. And look, I don't think there's any harm in having a performance like that before you go to Twickenham, because if they had hammered Wales out the gate, if the line out had been great, the scrum, which was exceptional, Andrew Porter did a serious number along with his front row colleagues as well, but it just gives them plenty of work to do over the next couple of weeks, which is no bad thing either. They've got the break week again, ideal timing, because England away after they got over the hump of Wales and Marseille was always going to be a big test. I still feel like that's going to be the case. Obviously they're playing against Scotland now. We don't know the result of that as we're speaking, but it's no bad place for Andy Farrell to come in on later next week, whenever they do, and have loads of things to show them. I think that's a good thing as well.
And Rory mentioned Kieran Frawley. There obviously a lot of talk about him in the build up to this one. In the second half he had his kind of dummy chip and chase and a few crossfield kicks, and obviously his try as well. How would you rate how he went?
I think he grew into it. I think it was just through no fault really of his own in the first half. The ball, we were commenting on it, weren't we? Just didn't seem to come his way. No. But you saw the dual playmakers, I thought, working much better in the second half. There was one lovely set where Frawley got on as first receiver, I think it was 3 or 4 different times, and Jack Crowley was loaded out the back at the other side of the pitch. So that's exactly, I think, what Andy Farrell wants from Frawley when he comes in. Obviously great moment for scoring his try in his first Six Nations start. That was a class moment for him. I thought he did really well. Warren Gatland, as we know, spoke about trying to target him and I don't really think they did that. Rod mentioned there you're missing Hugo Keenan. Of course you're going to miss Hugo Keenan, but by the same token, Frawley didn't really do much wrong. I didn't think at all.
That comment is not
No, I know. Yeah.
I think it's almost like the Johnny Sexton effect, that when Johnny Sexton wasn't around, standards dropped a little bit, and I think like there was a couple of moments. There was an up and under from Jack Crowley that was perfect, and Frawley lost out to his opposite number.
Great take.
I think it was a great take, but I think Keenan maybe, or Rob Kearney, like, you know, this is what we're comparing him with, is Ireland's fullbacks of the great fullbacks of the times gone past. You know, may have gone and won that. Look, it's an exceptionally high standard I'm holding them to, but that is the jersey he's wearing. I don't
think it was a type of performance though, and I'm not saying you're saying that Farrell would be reluctant to put him in again.
But I think it was a performance maybe from the team that shows just how valuable Hugo Keenan is. But I'm not putting it all down to his absence, and I'm certainly not putting it on the shoulders of Frawley, who I thought was really, really good and showed some lovely touches. It's just I'm not sure that I don't think he's a natural fullback, and I think he looked like a very good player playing well out of position, but still that. I would take great comfort from the word we're getting that that Keenan is probably going to be back for Twickenham, because I think maybe Frawley needs that time in that jersey to get to a higher level, but I think the team needs Keenan quite a lot. But that's not to denigrate what Kieran Frawley achieved out there. I thought he was very, very good.
And the bench split, you mentioned it there earlier. I don't know why they would go back to 5-3 now when you have players like Ryan Baird running up through the centre, running like a back. You know, the impact they make.
It's not like there's back three players beating down the door to get into that 23. Now Gary Ringrose will be coming into contention for 2 weeks' time, and maybe that's an incentive to go 5-3. Maybe it's the side of Stuart McCluskey. Well, I suppose he could be in the number 23 jersey ahead of McCluskey, but
which Farrell tends to like a big centre.
And Ringrose is probably more comfortable on the wing as well, so probably offers you a bit more comfort in that regard. Although Frawley will probably drop onto the best. I talk through it. It'll probably be Frawley because he'll probably drop out and Keenan comes back in. So whether Ringrose gets in or not, he was running the line today, running the water and the tea and stuff. The question he asked though was about the bench, and I thought they were exceptional. And I know James Ryan got a yellow card, but like what the risk that they're running is, are they playing their way into the team, or are they such an effective unit coming onto the pitch that they're just going to end up being like the bomb squad from South Africa, who will become a unit? Like Baird, I thought was really, really good. I thought he made poor decisions on the end of the kind of line breaks that no other player in Ireland can make. Now, that's something that you can coach the decisions, but you can't coach what he did in the first place. Like the first time he breaks through, Sam Costellow's in front of him, and rather than just go through him, which as a big, powerful second row come blindside should have done, he looked for the pass, having run away from Jemison Gibson Park. The second time it was a good play by Daffy Jenkins to dispossess him, but the actual physical prowess that he brings, the line out play that he has, it's really outstanding. Conan I thought was excellent. Kelleher was really good. He's not going to get in ahead of Dan Sheehan, but God, what a luxury to bring him on. Keane Heady at the age of 59 was sensational.
He was.
Ollie Yeager, I thought did well without being.
Conor Murray brought a bit of calm. I didn't
good.
think it was James Gibson Park's best game, I have to say. I thought he lacked a little bit of control.
Conor Murray have come on.
Yeah, I think
earlier,
so. We were commenting on this. Look, James Gibson Park is an outstanding player, but there are times where I think he forces it a little bit and we've seen this for Leinster a couple of times. I'm thinking of that Ulster game when Ulster beat them back in January, was it? He threw the pass that got intercepted. There's times when Ireland are deep into 22 where you'd like just a little bit more calm, build through the phases, and there was one moment in the first half where he did that again. In the second half he had a kick where I think it got blocked down as he was kind of put it through, so I think a little bit
they
more
forced
calm.
it a bit, the two of them, I think. Yeah, Crowley forced it a bit as well.
I thought so too, because the pack, like I mentioned, were just destroying Wales, and the platform was there, I think, for the halfbacks to bring a little bit more control. So I thought
it goes back to that game management point that I made, and you got to play to your strengths. And Ireland's strength normally is their attacking game, but today they were so dominant in the collision that maybe they could have just tightened up and won the game before they started going wide a little bit more, because if they'd gone around the corner a little bit more, that Wales team wasn't up to the physical challenge of that. Just pound them into the corner, maul, ruck, four scrums, even build a score. I know they got the points off the maul at the corner, but even going 3-6-9 might have been an option today, because they could have broken Wales far better, I think, but than the way they went about it, because they kind of kept Wales in the game, and by playing kind of intricate backline moves that weren't really working. It was a lot of it was in front of Wales rather than going through Wales. So I think England will have watched that with their line speed, and will be kind of licking their lips at what Ireland presented in attack at times today. At the same time, the James Lowe try, the Tyke Byrne try at the end. They were really well constructed attacking plays, so it wasn't all bad at all.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point about just being a little over eager to try and go out. Yeah, patience. And there were a couple of times, particularly in the first half, I can remember Doris in particular just carrying it up the guts, taking it at the base of the ruck and just going straight through. They were just making so much ground every time they did it, but I think they felt like they could hurt Wales out wide. And in fairness, Josh Adams got taken off. Like, that's a Lions player, and he had a tough enough game. Dan Sheehan ran over him in the second half. I actually thought it was Thomas Williams when he went over him. It was an unbelievable carry by Cian. So they clearly had identified to try and target Wales out wide, whereas the way the game panned out, I felt like they should have probably adapted a little bit more than they did, because like I said, you had that Doris moment. I think Tyke Byrne had another one where just went straight through them because Wales were almost fanning out. So they're little things that they can work on, but like I said, it's no harm to have them before you're going to Twickenham.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jack Crowley obviously as well. You talked 3-6-9, that's the way they should have gone. He went for the 3 straight away, and it was like from 42 metres, so his place kicking was a big talking point after the Italy game. He kicked them all. I know some of the conversions are right in front of the post, but so you think maybe pre-Italy game management, like we knew the place kicking was going to come back over the top.
Absolutely. And I still think he's adapting very well to international rugby, and had some lovely touches and offers a running threat that Ireland hadn't had in the kind of late stage Johnny Sexton. A lot to like about what he's doing, and these are the experiences he needs to go through so that he's able to manage games better, and that's where he's learning on the job to some degree. And I'm not putting it all on his shoulders. I think O'Mahony needs to have a word and go, hang on a second, we're getting involved in a bit of a crazy game here, let's just calm things down, get the ball off the pitch, because Wales didn't want to give Ireland line outs, so they weren't kicking the ball off, but Ireland have an excellent defensive line out, so why not get the ball off and go up and contest and make Wales play from within their own half, because then they'll make mistakes. Like, this is not a great Welsh team, so that I think that 15 minutes after half time, the period where Ireland were down to 14 and they got involved in that really long phase, that I think is what they should hone in on the most, because that was a bit of a crazy game to get involved in when you were down a man. They looked absolutely wrecked at the end of it, and I think that's part of the reason Farrell went to his bench. Like, it's a fairly minute criticism of them, and it's a fixable element, but it's just decision making, and it's having the confidence in not having the ball for a while, because the third try came from a bit of box kicking, because Ireland won that territory battle. It was a clever kick from Crowley that ended up resulting in the try. So they were able to do that game, and they shouldn't be afraid to do it. They can't be the Harlem Globetrotters all the time. Sometimes you've got to manage your energy, especially when you're down to 14 men. Again, look, we're talking about a big win, and we're picking holes in a big win, but I think that's the kind of issues that good teams iron out in between games, and you don't fall in love with yourself, and I don't see them not falling in love with themselves after this win.
Just on Crowley, I mean, he's learning on the job, but in a team that is 3 bonus points wins from 3 in the Six Nations, I mean, it's an unbelievable luxury for him and for Ireland to have, because no one is expecting him to be the finished product at all. And like, if you compare that to what Wales are unfortunately having, the pain that they're going to have to go through with Sam Costello, who is, I know he missed the previous round, but they're mixing a match in young 10s who are in a losing and a beaten team. So this is an ideal scenario for Jack Crowley, who didn't play badly, and not the is making that out at all, but it's a great situation for a young 10 to be 15 from 15 points. I agree with you, Sinead. He thought he kicked really well, and that would have been something that would have really frustrated him. I think after the Italy game, he silenced probably a few critics from that. Like you said, there was a little bit of it was over the top. So, like, all in all, it was a really good day at the office without being spectacular, I think.
Yeah, it was a good win. I wouldn't say it was a great performance by any means, but they're operating on such a level that they can have a bit of an off day and still win by 24 points against Wales at home, and be heading towards a Grand Slam with loads and loads to iron out and to learn. I do think that sometimes, certainly at the World Cup, they were guilty maybe of not learning from the mistakes in their wins, and New Zealand poured over the footage, and good coaches will pour over the footage, so they've got to be really ruthless and forensic about it. I mean, we haven't heard what Andy Farrell has said yet. We will, I'm sure, and if sometimes he comes in very positive after these games, but you'd hope that behind the scenes, like, I think they should have been winning that game by a lot more, or being far more comfortable within it. At the same time, it's probably no harm for them to have it wasn't a tight game in the scoreboard, but it felt like a tight game in the second half. Okay, well, let's just get the post-match thoughts of Andy Farrell and Peter O'Mahony.
I thought we was tenacious to be able to get to that point of a 31-7 win with a bonus point. There was all sorts of stuff that was going on in that game, and some of it was our own doing, but most of it was because we played against a tenacious Welsh side as well. So congratulations to them, but we stuck at it and brought them down in the end. You know, for the dominance that we had in the scrum in the first half, I felt we could have had a bit of a better lead going into half time. Well, having said that, coming out in the second half, I thought we was in the right place, but there was penalties all over the place, and he was a bit stop-start. But we found our way again. We found our way to get back going, and get the result that we was after. I thought we got what we deserved in the end. I mean, if the forward pass from Robbie hadn't have been knocked off, I thought that was going to be an unbelievable try, you know. And again, it was us finding a way to make inroads. And I actually thought that they defended really well at times, and was hard to break down. But to get the bonus point win, 31-7, I thought we should have been further up in the first half. To be fair, but I do understand that this is a young Welsh side that's trying to gain experience as well, and I thought they played bloody tough. That's for sure.
We know that we can have certainly potentially a bit more intent and a little bit more accuracy, but at the same time, credit to them. I thought they defended well. I thought they tackled well. Some of their collisions, some of their chop tackling was good, and we've been the other side of that card. I certainly have with Ireland, underdogs, and it's a nice place to be, and you can get stuck in, and I thought they certainly did that. There was times where they put us under pressure, and I thought there's a couple of times we could have turned the screw, but to be fair to them, turned the screw with our attack. But to be fair to them, they were good, defensively.
So we're recording this podcast before the outcome of the Scotland-England game in Murrayfield. What are those elements that you feel? And also, is it almost set up for the coaches, because they will want a far greater performance from Ireland going to Twickenham? Yeah,
this is the point that we've been making. I think the line out again is going to come under focus for the next couple of weeks. Paul O'Connell will have his hands full. Rudd touched on it. I mean, France gave them a free pass, but to be fair, a lot of that was down to the fact that Paul Willems obviously got sent off, and Italy, for some strange reason, didn't challenge really Ireland at the line out. So England absolutely will. They have the line out threats to do that. I thought it was interesting that they've dropped Freddie Stewart for this evening's game as well, which it seemed like an anti-Steve Borthwick kind of selection, because to me Freddie Stewart seems like the prototype kind of fullback that he'd want. So interesting to see how that plays out. I thought the scrum was excellent, like we've mentioned.
Yeah.
That was a big plus, because the scrum is going to need to be very good when it goes to Twickenham. Think back to the last trip to Twickenham where they got screwed, but then afterwards Matthew Reynal, the referee, came out and said that he got a few of the decisions wrong, which is all well and good, but Ireland won that game. Obviously there was an early red card, wasn't there, to Charlie Hughes
last
as well.
2 years they've had red cards against England.
Freddie Stewart as well here.
That's a big factor.
There's the set piece, I think, is going to be again a big focus, but just control and composure. You're going over to Twickenham, it's going to be a very different atmosphere to what it is here in terms of, look, Irish wins. I know it's been good recently, but over the years, Twickenham has been a tough place to go, so that's going to present different challenges as well. Just having the composure, a little bit more composure, that you don't have to throw the miracle pass to get a try in the corner, that a couple of more phases could do the job. So yeah, I'm leaving here today with glass absolutely half full. 15 points from 15 is an amazing return, and still feel like you've got plenty of scope for improvement. And the camera near the end of the game panned to Andy Farrell in the coach's box, and he looked like a man who, not annoyed, but a man who I would say would be probably echoing a lot of what we're saying, that there's no chance Ireland are going to be going over to Twickenham thinking that they've got it all sorted.
Yeah, they're 160 minutes away from history. No team in the professional era has done back-to-back Grand Slams. Sorry, certainly in the Six Nations era has done back-to-back Grand Slams. No Irish team has come close, so this is opportunity knocks for this team, post Johnny Sexton, to come out and do something. What would it be, the 5th Irish Grand Slam in history? These things are special, and we're very, very close to it. And this is an amazing team, and they didn't play amazingly today, but still I thought the atmosphere was better today than it had been against
Credit
Italy.
to the Welsh fans as well.
Welsh fans kind of
got a run out at the end.
It did,
but not for every try, which was all jokes aside, it was just crazy after every try against Italy, because you were in danger of ruining a good thing. So it was nice that they just played it at full time.
The whole thing was was better, was competitive, and a good test for Ireland, which they've overcome with plenty to learn. And I do expect them to be better in 2 weeks time in Twickenham, but they'll be tested. England have caused them more problems than most in the last couple of years, even though Ireland have won those games well. So yeah, I don't think they're coasting there. I think they've a lot to do, and certainly it brings us down to earth a little bit as well, because I found the build up to this game, I found it very hard to make a case for Wales to win the game. I thought Wales impressed me in many regards, even though they're way off winning against a team like Ireland, but they did enough to kind of show that there's a team there that Gatland can build. For Ireland, it was a lovely stress test to go through before those, a bit of a step up going to Twickenham, and I think Scotland could cause some problems in that final game as well, depending on how they're trucking. So it's not going to be easy to get over the line, but it's there for them, and they absolutely have what it takes to get there, and they have what it takes to be better than they were today, and that's what they'll be trying to get done over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Rory and Cian, thank you very much for that. That is it from us. Will and Luke will be back next week